But anyway, this video came out 2 days ago from LevelCap. Star Citizen is facing a major deadline. I have no idea what deadline he's talking about here. 4.0, the end of the year, Citizen, like what deadline? Star Citizen has never had a deadline ever, and if they have, they've never hit one. So I'm very curious what this is all about.
Last year, Cloud Imperium Games promised that they would deliver a staggering amount of new features and content for Star
Yes. 12 months or
Citizen over a period of 12 months. This announcement was made
LevelCap or so. That means they could do whatever they want.
Made more exciting by the fact that they were actually showing off most of these features in engine during the presentation. So it really felt like this might actually come to fruition. However, with Chris Roberts having a pretty legendary reputation at this point for missing major deadlines, fans were excited but also somewhat skeptical, and rightly so. Today, we're now less than 4 months away from Star Citizen's next major CitizenCon.
Oh, no fucking way. It's only 4 months away. Like, when you say it that way. Okay, put it this way. My wife's about to graduate college. She's got her last class. And, like, I'm thinking about the timeline of, like, okay, we're only 3 months away. We're only 1 month away. We're only 2 months away. We're now 2 weeks away. Right? And how quickly that has went and how little Star Citizen has done during that time is staggering. So, yeah.
Event that will kick off in Manchester, England. This event will take place on that 12-month deadline, and I want to see just how far CIG has come to delivering on that content and what's still remaining. Now, I actually had to go back and review.
Ooh, okay. So is this you said this, this, and this, and you have only done this, this, and this? I think a good percentage of the stuff is in 323, but like most of CitizenCon, a lot of it was like quality of life stuff. A lot of quality of life stuff is in 323.
My recap of last year's CitizenCon to make a list of everything promised, because it really is quite possibly the most ambitious goal the company has made, at least since their
somebody asked me to make this video specifically, and
original plan of shipping Star Citizen in 2014. LOL. I also ended up using this website made by community member Greg that's tracking each individual feature on an even more minute scale. He's
Never mind. There's an entire website that's tracking these people.
broken it down into 56 different features, of which 24 have been delivered so far. Though that statement...
When you're so bad that people are making websites to track your bullshit-ass promises
alone doesn't quite paint a picture of the progress made and what's currently being tested or partially implemented. I'll leave a link to a site in case you want to follow it. All right, let's get into it, and I'm going to kind of follow along with the categories that Craig has set up on his website because it's nicely laid out and easy to follow. So firstly, we've got the future of Star Engine, basically all the major engine updates that will improve performance and capabilities. So far, CIG has implemented Vulkan, which is the new render pipeline.
Not really. Not really, though, right? What's missing from Vulkan? I think it's Vulkan. There's no multi-threading rendering, which is the whole thing. That was the whole, like, that's where the performance comes from, right? And it's okay. The steps they're going are fine. Just so you know, I'm not like being like, oh, bad, they're bad, they're bad. They wanted to like get it in there, get it stable, and then do that. Good. Live game, live environment. This is how we should be doing things. All this is fine, but as us, the community, I don't think we should say that Vulkan's in until multi-threading is in, right? So it's partially in.
And that has come along with the first stage of DLSS, FSR, and the new TSR upscaling to improve performance, although most of the game is still CPU locked, so most players haven't seen a huge performance update since then. There's been cloud improvements with new light shafts and better cloud rendering. There's been ground fog updates that follow the terrain, and there's now new water simulation and deformation when a spaceship flies over the water or a bomb impacts the water to deform it in a really cool, interesting way. The new star hair simulation has been added to the game, and his website says star cloth has been added to the game, but I've seen debates as to whether or not this has actually been fully implemented in engine yet, though it is one of the smaller features, so I'm not too concerned over that.
I don't know, like in Pyro there was like cloth that you can interact with and it floated away and stuff, so it might kind of be in
detail. Now when it comes to server meshing, one of the biggest and most important features coming for Star Citizen, this has not yet been implemented. This feature will allow for servers to be broken up into multiple servers and
I mean, I argue this is like kind of debatable as well, is we've play tested it, we've seen it sort of function in the way that we see it here. It's obviously not but it's not like previous years where it was all words. At least players have interacted with the system.
Share the load so that allegedly thousands of players will be able to exist in one solar system and run missions and fight each other and just make the universe feel much more populated. Plus, it'll allow players to traverse between...
I didn't count master modes and experimental modes last year because it was only 2 ships. I feel... Okay, you're being one of those who's like, every time I say anything, you're like trying to catch me in a lie or something. But like that's how it's been all day today with this guy. But the master modes is in 323 because it was applied to all of the ships. So master modes isn't in if you can't use it in the ships that you own. And what I'm saying is they've mentioned server meshing for 5 years, but it's not a thing until you actually use it, and every player has had access to use it.
Different solar systems in real time. The first stage of this system, server replication, has been added into the game, and server meshing currently is being tested. In fact, I've checked it out, many players have checked it out, so a lot of people have played in a server meshed environment. It's just not yet stable enough for the live servers. I do expect that we will see this rolled out to live before the next CitizenCon. When it comes to graphics, ray traced global illumination has not yet been added to the game, nor has the next stage of DLSS 3, which would actually solve a lot of the CPU bottleneck issues for people who have higher end graphics cards. Maelstrom, the new physically based destruction system, has also not been implemented. The new fire
but one thing about Maelstrom, as we saw in the monthly report, it is in game dev now, so big step towards it being implemented, so that's a good thing.
Simulation and attached gameplay to that fire system has not been added, nor have some of the new quantum travel effects that were shown off. Let's talk about some of the new navigation and exploration features.
All of this is in, but not complete. As they said at SitCon, right?
Most long-term promised feature, the updated star map with seamless transitions from the surface of planets to spaceships to the entire solar system, is in the game currently. It works and it is awesome. This has been a huge update for the game. It also comes with path routing, so you can place a pin somewhere on a map and then that routing will show up on the new heads-up.
Actually, like most things are in, but the markers are the only things that aren't, right?
Display
pretty much
in your first-person perspective and help you navigate around cities. Not all of the features associated with this system have been implemented yet. Downloadable maps that'll reveal locations to you, or data running mechanics like being able to sell markers and stuff like that. And while we do have a nice new updated HUD, some of the features kind of associated with it, like FPS scanning, are also not yet in the game. The mobi-glass system has also been updated, and while the front end does look a little bit newer and fresher, it's mostly the back end features and how the mobi-glass is built that seems to be the major change. When it comes to personalizing your in-game character and just other NPCs around the verse, lots of progress has been made there. The new character creator and sculpting system is now in the game, giving players a huge amount of control over how their character looks. Not all of the new heads and hair types have been added, but a significant amount, with more hopefully on the way. They've also added the Headhunters gang to the game, which have a new visual look to them, but they have
I've never seen this armor before.
Haven't yet added a bunch of the other stuff like the Rough and Ready gang. They haven't added in player hygiene stuff where you can get dirtier.
Oh, so he mixed up the Dusters with these guys. So the Dusters are in, not these guys. I think he just mixed that
other
up.
Stuff like the Rough and Ready gang. They haven't added in player hygiene stuff where you can get dirtier over time. And as far as I can tell, they haven't really added in some of that new frontier clothing and cosmetics that were shown off. Now, when it comes to just
No, I think all that stuff comes with Pyro. He said they're not in. I'm not going to go back. He said they were in.
The first-person perspective, lots of progress has been made here. Aside from the new heads-up display, we now have the EVA 2.0 experience, which is a much-needed update to the game and just makes players floating around in space look much more realistic and cool. We also have the new Inner Thought system, which allows you to just quickly tap F on objects to do the action that you're expecting it.
How's this been for everybody? I think this has been mostly good, and it's got some annoyances with it. But I think it's better than what we had. That's where I'm at with it.
To do, but also holding the key down so that you can choose from more options. This is sort of the best of both worlds.
It's
not yet implemented to every item and interactable in the game, but progress is being made. There's a new looting screen for characters, allowing for faster looting in-game. It's still a bit buggy, but a noticeable improvement over the previous system. Kiosks and terminals now have more updated UI and features. Weapons now have new scope improvements, handling...
Dude, why did he show the scuffed item back?
Updated UI and features.
Look at this updated UI. Look at this updated UI and features. And the way he said it was so troll. It was so
Weapons
funny.
now have new scope improvements, handling mechanics, and even sounds for the guns. There's been a big balance pass here, so...
I don't know about you guys. I think everything on the FPS panel, outside of what the new Volt weapons, have pretty much been delivered. No FPS scanning. And but delivered like really polished, really well. Like pretty fucking happy. Sliding in, not sliding.
Huge
but I think most people hope that never makes it in.
Update and overall quality of life improvement. That said, there's still a wealth of features here that have not yet made it into the game. Player traversal animation updates like going prone, jumping onto ladders, sliding. That's not quite in yet. We don't have the first-person takedown system yet. There isn't a ping system for your radar, allowing you to ping and spot.
Okay, never mind. I take it all back. There's like none of this shit.
Enemies.
But everything around holding a gun, I feel like is pretty solid.
The even more robust player animation interaction system is not yet there, where you'll animate every button push in a cockpit and stuff like that.
I gotta say, I'm actually incredibly surprised that that's not something that's in. But then when you see, I don't know like who actually works on this stuff. If it's just what was her name? That lady, she was a big part of the UI conversations of like the looting UI and the Moby Glass and things like that. So I think that they only had so much that they can do, and maybe this is
advertised radiation gameplay and environmental hazard stuff that's
when
not
you press
there,
the buttons.
And the weapon wear, gun jamming, that kind of stuff is also not yet in the game. Now, when it comes to operating your spaceships and the features associated with it, some significant things have been added, but there's a huge amount of stuff on this list that is still yet to see any patch. The biggest feature added here is Master Modes. This is still what I would call a work in progress. This allows players to switch between navigational mode and SCM mode. All ships can switch between it, and there's a whole...
And there's 35 Spectrum threads a day about
this
slew of
new balance changes that come with it, and meta for how to fly your ship and fight with your ship. Along with it comes the new zoom in targeting system and the ability to sort of paint subsystems for targeting at range. It's kind of cool. I haven't been able to use it too much in game. It seems mostly useful for small ships targeting big ships at range. Now, when it comes to the features not yet implemented for flight, well, control surfaces is one. That's the ability for aerodynamic spacecraft to fly in the air much like an aircraft would, only using the rear thrusters, using less fuel, and achieving some of those more airplane-like mechanics. The quantum boosting feature, which is going to be a huge update to general traversal, allowing you to move quickly through space at sub-quantum speeds in a quicker, more dynamic way. That's nowhere to be seen yet. That also includes the entering quantum jump gameplay, where you have to sort of pull the ship onto course, otherwise you won't be able to achieve quantum jump. The complete ship heads-up display rework is not in the game. This seems like a massive amount of work, and I have no idea if they're going to be able to get it done in time. The ship-to-helmet MFD casting is not yet in the game. And of course, the other animation and interaction stuff that I discussed earlier is also not in the game.
We're like just
pressing everything and interacting with the cockpit. And we're missing the new configuration profiles used for different situations. When it comes to bigger spaceships, engineering gameplay has long been promised. This would be people tinkering with the systems inside of a ship, repairing them,
That's interesting. I would argue this is in as displayed at CitizenCon. Would you guys agree? I would say this is in as displayed at CitizenCon. It's in... Oh, you know what? Maybe not, because you can't use it on all the ships. Yeah, I guess it's not.
Adding power, replacing worn out components. This is not yet in the game, but it has been tested, and I think you can actually test it right now in the Arena Commander mode. It's cool, but it also seems like it's quite a ways off. Now, what about the new locations and gameplay? This is one of the more desirable updates for Star Citizen, because tons of features are great, but if there's no gameplay to back them up, then it doesn't matter all that much at the end of the day. Yeah. And that's kind of what 2024 has been so far. A lot of cool new features with not a lot of gameplay behind them. So what have we gotten so far?
And that's okay. Like, it's okay if the first patch of the year was mostly quality of life stuff. That's okay. What's not okay is 324, which should have been in 323, being 3 months late. What's not okay is 4.0 clearly being pushed back. What else is in 4.0 that we don't know about yet, which is probably a lot of this stuff, or should theoretically be a lot of this stuff. Not knowing any of that is not okay either.
There seems to be a new reputation system that allows you...
I don't see the point of the video. It hasn't been 12 months or so. The point of the video is going, there's a lot of things to do in 4 months. And I got news for you. Or so isn't a time. There's no time that equals it. There, you never hit or so. Or so doesn't exist.
Access to certain areas, good, neutral, bad. I haven't actually experienced this one firsthand. And probably the biggest new locations now are the distribution centers. There are actual missions and gameplay that take place here, but they are quite simplistic. The bigger raid-like events and going deeper into these distribution centers, or even some of the simpler package delivery gameplay, a lot of that hasn't been fully implemented yet or is still quite buggy. There are a lot of new settlements located around the system now, which actually do look quite cool, but there's not really a lot of...
You're underwhelmed by DCs? So am I. DCs don't have the content at them, right? Like, I had a really good time. I did like a couple DC missions on live, and there were snipers shooting at me, and it was chaotic. It was a lot of fun, actually. But if I did it a second time and a third time and a fourth time, it would exponentially get more and more and more and more. It would get more and more and more problematic. And not problematic, sorry, I had to ban stupidity in the chat. It would be more and more boring. It would just get boring over time. So without the reasons to go there, without the things that you need to be there, it's just, yeah.
Mission content,
so like all these locations are set up for good times, but they just have to design the good times, right? Like, most of those enemies there didn't have like super cool unique armor or these awesome upgrades. Like, like I killed all these guys and I got something at the end of it.
Attributed to them yet. And what is bound to be one of the biggest location updates to Star Citizen, the entire second new system of Pyro, is also not yet in the game. That one is locked behind the server meshing technology. Players have been able to test out Pyro and play it for brief periods of time just to see what it's like, and it is cool, though what we have played has been an incomplete version of Pyro and shown many ways to sort of break the underlying mechanics of the system, since it is a lawless system. So I'm very curious to see what updates come with Pyro once it finally makes it into the live servers. Persistent hangars, which are attached to freight elevators, which are attached to all the new hauling gameplay, are not yet in the game, but they are being actively tested right now, so I do expect to see those features added to the game in the near future. I'm personally very excited about those features, especially the hauling gameplay, because, well, it's gameplay. New things to do, new missions, new opportunities. Now, one of the more exciting features shown off at the last CitizenCon, which many people, myself included, did not expect to see in a year's time, was base building.
They also communicated that it would not be in a year's time. It would start development.
With land claims, people being able to claim a section of a planet or a moon or what have you and start building a base on there that has systems that can interact with the solar system economy and have turrets, defenses, what have you. This just seemed way too ambitious to get into the game in a year's time, and I think CIG's kind of walked that feature back a little bit, and I don't think anybody's surprised by that. So, in summary, CIG still has a bit of time to get more features delivered to us. It does seem like they are lagging behind their deadlines a bit here, especially with some of the major...
Bruh, 323 isn't even out yet. Until 324 comes out, 323 isn't out yet. They are more than lagging behind.
Big ticket items still
Boys, around this time, around now, the expectation at the beginning of the year was 4.0. 4.0 would be an Evocati. Around this time, we would be talking about 4.0 being an Evocati. They are more than just lagging behind.
Delivered, such as server meshing and Pyro. Those will likely take the most amount of time, and I don't think anybody's going to be surprised if those features slip past the deadline. Now, in terms of what's been delivered so far this year, I would say that a lot of quality of life features have been added to the game that will probably make Star Citizen a more enjoyable experience to get into as a new player.
In the long term as well.
For veteran players, the quality of life updates are nice, but there isn't a lot of gameplay to back them up. That hauling update that's in the works right now is a pretty big deal for players who just want something new to do, new to try out in Star Citizen. And in fact, I'm kind of having that epiphany moment looking at all of the promised features. The vast majority of them have very little to do with new gameplay content. It's still all very important update and, again, foundational tech, but in terms of the player experience, there hasn't been too much this year that's brought me back in for a long period of time to play. The distribution centers were the thing that I was kind of most excited to try out, and those missions just kind of underwhelmed, or I ran through them pretty quick, and then that was that. So Pyro is still slated for Q3 2024, and hopefully CIG can make that deadline. That will be a huge update for the game in terms of available content, potentially doubling the amount of missions and things that you can do in the game. So that'll be something that is very exciting for everybody interested in Star Citizen. I'm going to be following the game very eagerly, and I'm excited to check out what's going on at the next CitizenCon. What do you guys think of the progress they've made so far? Do you think they're going to hit most of the items on this list by the deadline, or are they going to blow right past it as they have done so many times before? Let me know in the comments. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave me a like, subscribe for more content like it, ding that notification bell to beat the YouTube algorithm with me. And up next, check out this amazing space game that I wanted to try out because I wanted another spaceship game that I could play with 2 joysticks at once, and I was not disappointed by this one. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.
Everspace is awesome. I'm depressed. I'm sad. Instead of what he asked at the end, what level of confidence, good vibes, good feels were you feeling October last year? What are you feeling now? I don't feel as good as I did then. And in particular, I don't feel as confident as I did then. Yeah, 1 out of 10. And the reason I don't feel as confident is there was a lot of this in terms of game design, progression, reputation, all of this talk at CitizenCon. Those were the things that I hyperfixated on that I thought were really important. And there is basically none of that being discussed in terms of what's actually being put into the game right now. So it's a little bit of a bummer for me. But so for me, I've always kind of, not always, but more recently have been just focused on what's in front of me. So the patch that's in Evo, that's my focus. Can't even think about 4.0. And it's getting more significantly like that for me. What they say is meaningless. What they do is everything. So, and that's just where I'm at now. CitizenCon is a talk. It's a TED Talk. That's what CitizenCon is. It's a TED Talk. And after the TED Talk is over, it's over. And it's what they do after it. And they haven't delivered on what they did. And they didn't deliver on what they talked about last year. Very little reputation stuff, and very little game being significantly better stuff, right? Master modes did not hit well at all. I think it's an improvement, but it has a ways to go. I think one of the only things that hit was the FPS stuff. Outside of that, everything was kind of a bit of a disappointment, I would say. And yeah, I was not hyped for distribution centers. I was not one of the people who were hyped for distribution centers at all. So yeah, that's not one of the things I cared too much about. But I tested server meshing. It's cool. What goes through those jump gates is what matters. And there hasn't been a lot of work on that. Maybe the economy stuff is going well, and that wasn't even anything that was discussed at CitizenCon. I think a lot of people are freaking out about it, but I think they're going in the right direction there. So, yeah. I did a report card, actually. It's been 6 months. How are they doing? That's a video up on the main channel. And I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't feel better after that video, I tell you that much.